and a person is trying to communicate at the level they understand. For example, the younger person, Generation X or whatever they call it. I mean, they have all kind of millennials. They have all kind of Gen Z and whatever else. And we know it as you're either you're old or you're young. Full stop. So right away you're hearing Gen Z and you're like, what the hell is a Gen Z?
That's the younger generation.
No, I know. Right. But a person who a person who is mature, hearing that, they're struggling first of all to understand what is a Gen Z. So that is where the cross-generational communication, you have a breakdown in that. Another thing, in sexual talk, you hear people, the younger generation, talking about love and sex and using the word love so loosely that it loses its meaning. It does not create the impact that it should when you hear the word. Somebody tell you, I love you. It's not like hey, I love you, boy. You understand? And if they text that to you, you don't pick up on the meaning of a word when it's text to you. It loses its impact. So many a times, if you want your relationship to be strong, communication and comprehension is very important. Those are two important factors. Using proper communication and proper comprehension of what is being said. And comprehension is not just breaking down a paragraph to understand what that paragraph means. It's comprehending what the person is trying to articulate to you or what the person is trying to tell you, and you having an appreciation for what the person is telling you. Now, if you go into the realm of actual sexual intercourse, it's very easy to get caught up in what you're doing physically, and there's nothing new in the physical act. There's nothing new in the physical act. But cross-gender, now we're looking at that. A lot of younger persons are influenced by social media. They're influenced by personalities. They're influenced by the movie of the month or the movie of the week. They're not influenced by any book. They're influenced by those things. And if you have a celebrity who likes a particular type, I remember there was one celebrity at one time who was big into urinating on the other sex. And there were some people who were disgusted by it, and there were some people who wanted to try because that was their hero. And they wanted to become part of it. So they will ask the question, what does that mean? But for the older generation who understands that, they might tell you it's called golden shower. But most of them wouldn't participate in that because that wasn't part and parcel of their vocabulary sexually, and it wasn't part and parcel of the behavior sexually. But as time goes by, the younger persons are willing to experiment with things that the older generation never was willing to experiment with because of their standards, because of their morality, religion, culture, and other things. They weren't willing to go down that road, although they may have the feelings for it. But there were so many things internally that will prevent them from doing it. That is something that is not present in the young generation, the Gen Zs and the Generation X and the millennials. Because they tell themselves that they're more open and they're more willing to do these things and see where it carries them. Sexually, I'm talking about. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong because that is up to the individual. And I always, whenever I give lectures or whenever I do these things, you have individuals who are behaving in a particular way. And they would want to express themselves, and they'll tell you, I remember one person, when one of the comments that I got on my TikTok is, sex is something that we would only discuss behind closed doors. Now the younger generation openly discuss it. Whether they're right or wrong with their discussion, whether they have the correct information or not, it doesn't matter to them. It's all part of the discussion. But it does matter that you have the correct information, because what happens if you go down the line of thinking that a particular sexual act will give you a particular experience when in reality it does not, you're actually fooling yourself into thinking that you're going to get something different from this particular act. And this is not a condemnation of anyone. This is simply to let persons who are listening, who happens to hear this video, understand that sometimes the things you see it in a particular way, or it's put across to you in a particular way for you to react to it. You know, a good case in point. What you see people posted on TikTok is not reality. Unless it's an educational thing that what I do. But a person who does something on TikTok, for example, I saw someone breastfeeding their child today. That is simply for likes.
For views.
That is simply for views and likes. That's all. But in another context, that person exposing their breast might be banned for pornography. But breastfeeding may not be banned because it's part of what you do as a human being. Natural. So in the context by which the person do it, it's not real. She may just, I don't know why she did it. So I'm just saying that. She may be doing that for likes, for views, for shares. But you cannot take, likes, views, and shares are not tangible. You cannot take that and go to a shop and buy anything with it. You cannot bank that. There's nothing about like, views, and shares that will put money in your pocket, unless, of course, you're on YouTube and it's being done in a different way and it's monetized. But for the everyday individual, they're hoping that they could earn a living off of it. They're hoping that that could happen, but it doesn't. It just does not. So, as we see it, there are so many areas of thought and behavior for each individual that they have to come to terms with. And they have to understand themselves. They have to understand exactly what am I putting out there? What am I doing? How am I going to balance this? What am I going to do to make this work? So much so that you have a person interested in something sexual. They're interested in doing something sexual, and they're willing to experiment. But who they're going to experiment with is someone who is just as in the dark as they are. One of the questions you asked me last week is about intimidation, and that I thought that was an interesting thing, because I never consider that for one moment. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I just tell myself, I'm one of you. So somebody who works for me, someone who interacts with me, I don't come out as in a way that I'm trying to overpower that person, or I'm more important than the person. So I don't look at the words as I being someone who's intimidating to another person until you ask me that question. And since you asked me that question, it has been bothering me. Because then it made me realize that maybe I do intimidate people based on my knowledge, based on who I am, and other factors. Maybe there is some sort of intimidation, but I never considered it. And it was interesting that you asked me that question, because when you interact with people on the outside, sometimes you see a person will look at you, and I question it sometimes. Why that person looking at me so? But then again, somebody will be like, well, you're Dr. Raj, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Or maybe they want to approach you with
But
something, but they
there's
don't
intimidation.
know. Yes.
And you're right. And the question was, it really had me thinking. It honestly had me thinking, as to how people perceive me, what they are, what's going through their mind when they have to approach me. And I'm the most approachable person. You smile with me and you could approach me. I may not smile at the moment back at you. Sometimes I have to remind myself, keep on smiling. But it's not that I'm a dead serious kind of individual. Sometimes I might be naturally not smiling, but inside of me I'm happy. I don't have to be projecting that all the time. And I'm approachable. And I'm the kind of person that you could come and talk to. I remember giving a lecture to a police youth group. And there were a lot of young persons in that youth group. Some who had tried to commit suicide a number of times and whatnot. And here I was giving a lecture to these young individuals. It was the age range was from about, I think, 11 or 12 to 18. And this was a police youth group. They asked me to come and talk to them and whatnot. And they had a lot of questions. And if I was not an approachable person, if I wasn't somebody that they were comfortable in asking questions, we wouldn't have stayed back there for an hour and a half answering questions after the lecture is done. And I don't like to just lecture, I like to interact. And the reason I like to interact is because the experiences one has and one has gone through, the challenges a person may have, I need to hear it to understand where they're coming from with their question.
And you could better understand what they got from a lecture.
Yes, yes. Because your past is reflective in how you approach things. Your past is reflective of how you understand things. And that is what we talk about cross-gender communication and comprehension. So a young person hearing these things, they would use their background and whatever they went through, whatever trauma or happiness they went through, to assimilate whatever is being told to them. And this is what is important in relationship. I don't know your background unless I have a conversation with you. And let's say I have met someone and I want to get to know the person. And this is for persons out there who are seeking to develop a relationship with someone. You need to know the background of the individual and how he or she will understand whatever you're trying to communicate to. So this is where a lot of skills come in as an individual, and you need to build on those skills. It's not only, that's why education is not only grammar and arithmetic and biology and chemistry and those things, but it's also the psychology and sociology that one encounters in society. Those are also important because there's a psychology to things based on how a person thinks, how they interact with something or they react to something. There's always a psychology. So many a times, our misunderstanding of individuals and ourselves comes about because we don't understand exactly what the person is trying to say. And some persons are shy to communicate. Some persons, they don't have the vocabulary to communicate what they want to say, to put it across. They don't have it. And because they don't have it, it's difficult for them to express themselves or to tell you, well, you know, this is how I really feel about this thing. Could you it's difficult for them to do that. So many a times we do things in a particular way. Many a times we do things based on our own history, our own past experience, and the other person may not have had those experiences. And a simple thing is cultural. The culture of Trinidad and Tobago is much different from the culture of, let's say, Ghana. So if you meet someone from Ghana and the person is interested in you, you have to first get an idea of their background and the culture that they come from in order to understand the way they put across things. It's much different from a person from Sweden, where they have a more liberal approach to things. even of a sexual nature. So different countries have different ways of dealing with things and different ways of educating their public to do things. We have our ways. You talk about things that are happening in school today. And I think recently there was an incident with some young men who weren't allowed to graduate. Well, not wasn't allowed to graduate. They weren't allowed to go on stage because of their hairstyle.
Yes.
Now, some persons are for and some persons are against. I'm neither. But I say if there are rules in the school, you have to obey the rules in the school. Because when we were going to school, you couldn't have your shirt outside of your pants. You couldn't have the stop button unbuttoned. It has to be a button. You had to wear your school badge, your monogram. There were things that you had to do to go to school. It was part and parcel of being a student, and that instilled a level of discipline. You couldn't have your hair long, right? You couldn't wear a cap to go to school. No, a person might say, well, what does that have to do with education? Nothing, but it has to do with discipline. It has to do with, okay, let's say those same young men, and this is just putting it out there, those same young men, they weren't allowed to go on stage. And it was a group of how many? Anyone knows? How many?
Probably about 20 something.
Okay.
children.
They all decide to join the police, the army, the coast guard. Do you know what's going to happen to them?
They'll have to cut their hair.
First and foremost thing. So what are they going to tell the police, the army, and the coast guard? That I'm not going to cut my hair and I'm going to come with my cane row, whatever, or ass or whatever, and you have to take me like that? No. They're not going to. Because it is the rule of the institution. You understand? So if that's the rule of the institution, and that's where you're attending, and that's what you choose to attend to, you have to conform to the rules. It's like there was an incident in cricket recently where a guy was stumped or run out at the end of the game because the umpire did not call over, meaning that it was not dead ball. And a cricket commentator had this to say: in cricket, there are no rules, there are laws. And that was the law of cricket, that if the person leaves the crease without permission, you're out. And the person hits the stump, you're out. That's the law of cricket. There are no rules in cricket, there are laws. And you abide by the law. So the point being, everything that you do in life, depending on where you are in society. Now, there may be some country where a person is allowed to go to school with cane row and a Rastafarian hairstyle, you know, and an afro, you know. There may be some country in the world where that is allowed. It's not allowed in Trinidad and Tobago up to last week, I think, or up to yesterday. The hairstyle was something that was not allowed. I'm not following it too much because I was out and I'm only hearing bits and pieces.
I feel like people were more trying to make it a racist thing and a religious thing.
I think that's what they're trying to do. Yes, you're right. But it has nothing to do with religion and race. It has to do with rules, in my opinion. That's why there are some institutions that I will not go to because of their rules. Because it doesn't conform to my rules. Right? There are some places that I do not like to venture into because the rules, I'm not willing to abide by the rules. And if I am not willing to abide by the rules, it doesn't mean to say I want to break the rules, you know. I don't like the rules, so I will not find myself there. So if you're telling me, I remember once, I like to wear my hats. I went to a club and the person told me, you can't go there with your hat on. So I took it off and I had it in my hand. But when I went in, there were 3 other guys with their hats on. I was like, what the hell going on here? So I put on my hat and he came to me and said, you're not allowed to wear hats. I said, so what about them? Why are you picking on me? Why?
No, the same monkey doesn't know what tree to climb.
No, well, he didn't know which tree to climb. He didn't, because I didn't have to tell him anything. I left the institution. But the bosses came after me and said, why are you leaving? I said, well, the guy put me out. I said, no. I said, no. So the bosses of the place came and said, no, why are you leaving? I said, well, security put me out, you know. So I know my money is good enough in my pocket. I don't have to go there to spend money. I will think twice about going there because that's their rules. But he went overboard with the rules. That's for another time. So, when you're dealing with relationship now, a person may have their own rules. For example, your boyfriend or girlfriend may have certain rules. You have to call me in the morning when you get up. And if you don't, they vex with you for the entire day. But that's their rules. So you now have to say, either we change the rule, or I abide by the rule, or don't abide by the rule. And this is where communication comes in. But a lot of times, persons place rules on each other or on another person, and they don't want the rules to be placed on them. And that's something that is very common, especially now. Do what I say, not what I do. Because I want to control you in a particular way. And it's not only for this generation, this has been going around for a long time. This is something that has happened many, many times. So you'll find that there are individuals who will place restrictions in terms of movement, where you go, who you go out with, what you can do, what you wear. There are persons who will dictate what you wear.
And the type of friends you have around.
The type of friends you have, who you could spend time with, what institution you can go to, with or without me. Are you willing to abide by those things?
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the restrictions you're under? You willing to share? I know you have some questions, so let me start with the first one.
Okay. The first question is, are they hearing me properly?
I hope so. I could always...
If you were turned off by your partner's actions or something that they said and can't gain an erection or get turned on, how to fix this problem? Like, let's just say your wife told you something. Let's say she told you that her ex died and she started to cry, and ever since then, you can't seem to have an erection because that situation bothered you.
There are many things that affects a person. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and other ways. Because sex is something that takes place in your brain, first of all, transfers to the organs, you'll find that some things that are said to you will impact on you sexually. For example, if you're having a quarrel with your partner, and he or she tells you something about your sexual behavior, that could impact on you negatively. And you may not feel the same way with that person again sexually. So your ex crying for her ex, your partner crying for her ex, shouldn't impact on you sexually. But if the person makes a comment about the size of your penis, or how that person used to have sex with you, that could impact on your brain. And that could impact on your behavior sexually. And those are the things that causes a relationship to fall apart. Because here you are, in your mind, you were insulted. In your mind, you were belittled. You were compared to someone else, and you can't match up to that person.
I feel like it had a lot to do with insecurity, in the sense that he may possibly think that she still has feelings for him. Maybe that's why.
Well, let's put it this way. If you are in a relationship with someone and you break up with that person, you think feelings just disappear?
No.
Feelings don't disappear.
Once they're genuine, they stay.
Once there's genuine feelings for an individual, it stays. But it may not be to the same degree, because there may have been some hurtful things that were said, and it would have impacted on you. It may be that you realize that the road that person is going down is not a road you want to travel, and you don't want to be part of it. but the intensity of the feeling that the person have. You know, there's something of being in love with someone and loving someone. You know, there's a difference there. You know?
Yeah.
So I could be in love with you, and we break up, but I still love you. But I'm no longer in love with you. So the individual now, if they use that as a weapon, because you're talking about weaponizing a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're talking about, weaponizing a feeling and using it against your partner. When you do that, all you're going to do is destroy the relationship that you have. Now, for the guy to overcome that, he must have the kind of mind that say, to hell with whatever she says. I'm going to show her differently, and I'm going to be a different man, and I'm going to operate in a particular way, and I really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many a times that you would have these things happening, and it will happen in a particular way. You would realize that, hey, I am better than that. I don't need to take that on, and I really love this woman, and I forgive her, and I can move on.
So once he changes his mindset, maybe the problem may disappear.
But again, changing your mindset takes a very strong mind. Eh? You have to have a mind that is very strong to put aside whatever is said to you, because in anger you do say a lot of things. When you are angry with someone, you do say things that you're going to regret. And that is part and parcel of human behavior. You have a next question there?
Yes. What to do if you are unable to have sex with your partner because you simply grew out of love? That we just say the feelings slowly fade away over time.
This is from a man's point of view or a woman's point of view?
Could be both. You can answer from both points of views.
For a man, it's easier because sex is much more of a physical act than emotional thing. Because let's face it, a man could go and pay for sex.
Mm-hmm.
He could have sex with anyone. Most men, not all men. Most men could have sex with anyone once the person is attractive to them. Now, even if you lose attraction, horniness does take over. So when a man is horny, he could masturbate, he could froth, he could rub his penis on something, he could think about anything to ejaculate. It's the same thing. You and I in a relationship, no longer have feelings for you, I get in horny, man, I could stick that anyway. Once you're willing. Or even if a person is not willing, men could do that. I'm not advocating you should, but that's what it is. With women, it's much different because it's much more emotional. They must have feelings for you. There must be a connection of some sort, whether it be a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. I love you. I care for you. You're an important part of my life. There's emotions. Mm-hmm. So even if it is a BFF or friends with benefit. Now, person asks, how does these things, friends with benefit, work? A woman could become emotionally attached to you because of money. You know? Women get married because of money. Not love, you know. The emotion is towards the money, not the individual. That's why guys will tell you they'll pull up in a fancy car. It may not be their own car, but they'll pull up in a fancy car to pick up girls because they like the car. And a girl will jump in, and again, that's, you know, women will laugh at guys because they could pay for sex and have sex with anybody, but it's the same thing with women. They will tell a man that they love them simply because the man is rich or because of the position that he has in life, the stature. And they could easily do that. It's a very easy thing. But it's not love for the individual, it's love for what the person can provide. So the sexual part of it becomes easy for the woman because, hey, he just give me a little change and thing, man. Wait is to give me a little thing sexual. No big deal. So it's this. So sometimes we look at the guys and we laugh and we think that the guy is less than the woman, but is it? It's a balancing scale all the time. One is not less than the other or more than the other because a person will say a woman has to be truly in love with you to have sex with you. That is not true. That is not true. Once the emotion is there for the person or for what the person can provide or what the person projects, you're going to get sex. So I hope I answered from both sides of the...
Yeah. The next question is, what to do if your penis cracks during rough intercourse?
Penis will not crack during rough intercourse, it will tear. The foreskin will tear. And that's a difference from cracking of the foreskin. If the foreskin cracks, it's called phimosis. And that's a drying of the foreskin because of phimosis. And that's something that needs to be treated. If the foreskin tears because of rough sex, that's something different. You have to give it time to heal. But one of the things you must remember, once there is trauma on the foreskin or underneath the foreskin around the corona or the head of the penis, the tissues that form there is called scar tissue, and scar tissue does not stretch. It's not elastic. That scar tissue that you have there is not elastic. And because scar tissue is not elastic, it tears again.
So it's like...
And the penis goes through a lot of trauma while having sex. The vagina also, but the penis more so. So if you have that foreskin constantly being pulled back and jabbed and twisted and whatnot, it could tear again on that spot that you have the scar tissue.
Wouldn't that hurt or burn?
Of course it hurts and burns. It's painful. And the burning part of it is if urine touches it. Even if washing your penis is painful, that's why we have a cure and treatment for persons who have trauma to their penis because of phimosis and even tearing of the foreskin during rough sex. There's a treatment and a cure for it. And we have that at the Adult Therapy Center.
Okay. So a 21-year-old wants to know what to do if you're an excessive masturbator, but now it is causing weakness in the body and pain in joints. Now, after a while.
Excessive masturbation will cause pain in joints. That comes about from something else.
Something else.
There's acidity. Excessive masturbation will not cause weakness in the true sense of the word. After you ejaculate, there's something called a refractory period. So after you ejaculate, the body goes through what you call a refraction. So you need to take a nap, and when you get up, you feel just as good as before you were having sex. But if you're feeling weakness in the body, it's not because of masturbation, it's because of a deficiency that the body has. And the masturbation just brings it about.
What about breaking excessively? Like if you're continuing to masturbate?
Well, ejaculating excessively will not also cause pain in the joints. There's no correlation of it.
Okay.
What happens there is that after a while, there's nothing that comes out, so it becomes a painful ejaculation. Guys who masturbate excessively will tell you that after a while, the whole act of ejaculating and nothing comes out, there's a pain that they feel. It's not a painful pain that you need to go to the emergency room, but it's
like
painful.
Blue balls,
No, blue balls is different.
Different pain.
Blue ball is different.
Okay.
So excessive masturbation could cause you to, let's say, okay, you're masturbating and you masturbate 3 or 4 times in a row without going through the refractory period. You do feel weak after that because your body needs to rest. To go through that refraction, your body needs to rest and recuperate. That's why some women, when they have an orgasm, they don't want you to touch them. They need to fall asleep also. It's refractory.
So a 26-year-old guy wants to, well, he has erections all day whenever he wants and gets morning wood daily. But when it comes to intercourse, he loses his confidence and goes soft constantly. He wants to know how to fix it.
That's psychological. He has to do a counseling session. He has to do sex therapy. That's more psychological than anything else.
Performance anxiety.
Performance anxiety. Again, getting erection regularly, and this is where a lot of times people may think that they're healthy sexually because they get good erections, I think, in the morning, and they get good erection during the day spontaneously, but they're not performing sexually, that's an erectile dysfunction also. So it is a form of erectile dysfunction.
The next question is, a 20-year-old woman who's never had an orgasm says that when she massages her clitoris for a while and feels like she's close to an orgasm, it becomes super sensitive to where she'd have to stop. She wants to know how to orgasm if this happens. If you could still go on.
Redirect where you're touching. Find another area of the body that is not super sensitive. Well, not the body, but the vagina, the vaginal area, where you don't have that amount of super sensitivity, and you can still bring yourself to an orgasm without touching the clitoris, which may be super sensitive. And again, because of the nerve endings and whatnot, you would have to experiment with yourself. Maybe you need to insert your finger and touch the G-spot, or get a G-spot vibe to work on the G-spot, to work on a different area of the vagina that is going to give you that stimulation, and it will cause you to cross the threshold.
A 35-year-old woman wants to know if it's normal to not crave any sex at all. According to her, she doesn't think sex is a need at all, and it's been happening for a while.
There are many persons who go through sexual trauma. There are many persons who experience a sense of low libido because of a number of factors. Again, she has to think about her past, try to understand what may have caused her trauma. If there is something hormonal within her that could also cause her to lose her libido, she may have been abused, not abused. She may have gone through problems with her relationship that causes her not to want to have sex. So there are many things that can happen to an individual that could cause them to lose interest in sex and not have feelings for sex. And age is not the measurement, because age alone is not the important factor. There are many other factors that are going to cause this to happen, and one needs to examine the different causes. What could cause an individual to lose interest in sex? And let's take it from a teenage perspective. If a teenager was traumatized by the things that were said to him or her by parents and others, that will cause that person not to be reacting to things sexually. If a person was abused physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, those are the things that can also cause you to go down a particular track where you're not turned on sexually. If you had an injury, an ailment of some sort that affects your glands, that also could cause that. A hormonal imbalance, poisoning. And I'm not talking about poisoning by somebody giving you poison or you ingesting poison, chemical poisoning. There's so many factors that affects us. Depression. So many young individuals are suffering from depression today. If you're a depressed individual, you have no interest in sex. And sometimes you may be a 35-year-old woman who's depressed in your relationship. And you've been depressed since 28, postpartum depression with your children. All these things could affect you sexually. So you see, the root cause of sexual dysfunction is not only what is happening at the moment, but many things that happened prior to that.
Okay.
And this is where education, sex education, or as a person who educates individual about sex, it is not a one-stop shop where you have an instant answer for the person.
It takes time.
It takes time to understand the background of the individual. As a sex therapist, a sexologist, you are mindful of all the factors that could affect a person, even if the person thinks that someone has done them wrong spiritually. That could also affect you. So there are so many factors out there that affects a person's mind and behavior. that one has to dig deep into the individual and pull up some of these things to find out what causes this. So, as a sex therapist, as a person who is interested in helping others, we have to take the time to understand the person and their personality and their background, culturally, emotionally, spiritually, and otherwise. Because there are persons who believe in bad, and they strongly believe in it. Not that there isn't bad, there's good and bad out there in life. And because of that, you have things that are going to impact on the person's mind and their behavior.
I think this next question kind of ties into that. Do you believe in the saying that once you have sex with someone, a part of them remains with you? A guy had sex with a woman he barely knew, and after that he constantly felt heavy or negativity around him.
That is pure bullshit.
So,
Pure bullshit.
People say that it's a spiritual bond when you have sex.
There is a spiritual bond between two persons who are spiritually attached sexually. But sex is physical. A lot of, okay, let me put it this way. If I want to control you, and I always say this, if I was a person who was interested in money and fooling people, I would have opened a church. It's very easy to convert people. It's very easy to control people. Very, very easy to do that. Because once you start telling them things that falls within their belief system, you're going to convert them. And I mean this as a professional. I'm not attacking anyone. Right? So, if I stand up on a pulpit and say, if you have sex outside of marriage, part of that person's spirituality or spirit will remain with you. That's to frighten the shit out of you and to get you not to do it. That is all.
I think it's more to the idea of a succubus.
That is pure crap. The succubus and you see that when I hear people talking about that, I say there's no basis in truth.
All wives' tales.
Not even all wives' tales. These are things that are passed on. Okay, you have to go back to the basis of it. The basis of it is, again, the church. Okay, you ever find it funny? And I want people to understand this. And again, I'm not attacking anyone. You ever find it funny that you have 4 religions out there that have 4 different gods, but one devil? You ever find that funny? And the 4 religions can't defeat this one devil? It's the same devil, eh? You ever find that funny?
it's true.
4 different gods, but one devil, and all they can't defeat him, right? So something has to be wrong. And any logical thinking individual, you see, all Abrahamic religion is based on that. Right? That's Abrahamic religion. There's only one non-Abrahamic religion. And everything else comes from that. But that's something different. We're not going on that way. Now, that religion have no devil. You have good and bad. Full stop. Right? But when you're talking about if I have sex with somebody, a piece of that person's spirituality will come up. That is I had a young man come and tell me he had a dream about this thing that come onto him and pull his soul out of his body and take it. I say, Brett, if that's what you believe, that is what happened to you. But thank God you're here today.
A lot of people believe in that actually, and they always say, be careful who you have sex with.
No, it is said to people to frighten them and to cause them not to have sex.
I mean, partly too, in the advertisement about like when you're doing AIDS and those kind of ads, and they tell you, well, you had sex with this person, you had sex with all their sexual partners.
No, well, that's something different. That is something different.
So you're kind of a mixer between that.
No. That is something totally different. Right? If I have sex with 20 women, I and those 20 women have 20 different STDs, I will get 20 different STDs and STIs. So if I go and have sex with a person, I could transfer 20 different STDs and STIs. I transfer no blasted 20 spirits to that person. Don't give me that stupidness. And anybody who tells me otherwise, I'll tell him you're real dotish. It is a virus. A virus is not succubus and incubus and whatever hell you want to call it. A virus is something different. So transference of a disease is not spirituality. So you're going back to medieval time when people have a cough and they say, okay, a spirit of that person died by coughing so much. Beat them with bush. Tie them down. Let me do an exorcism to get rid of that. When it's a poisoning. That is different. And if one is to use their mental capacity and think about the logic in things, there's no logic in that.
I feel that's one of those things you tell your children so they wouldn't be curious about sex.
Correct. Correct.
Putting fear in you.
Yeah.
They put a fear in you that if you go and have sex with him, you go take piece of his spirit, and he go take piece of your spirit, and you become weak. That is total crap. And to prove it, you have people called prostitutes who have sex with hundreds of men on a monthly basis. So they're walking around with 100 different spirits on them. They should be able to get off the bed for the next month.
Oh, even you who want pay for them.
No, forget you. The woman is having sex with 20 customers for the week. For the month, 80 persons she have had sex with. I know, gone with that person. The woman shouldn't be able to get off the bed because she has 20 different spirits inside her. She
must be heavy.
She must be heavy. So what am I going to do? When I have sex with you, I pull in 20 different spirits inside of me and move. Like pure crap. There's no logic to it. There's absolutely no logic to it. It is simply somebody saying something to instill fear in you. How many of you here know about Jim Jones?
I don't know.
The Western. Western time?
No. No. Jim Jones had a cult in Guyana in the 70s, and he got everybody to drink poison and kill themselves.
Oh yes, I know about that. Actually, I just couldn't recall the name.
So if one man could influence 900 people to drink poison and kill themselves, simply because he had a religion and everybody was having sex with everybody.
Everybody believed he was God as well.
Koresh was the same thing. So you see how easy it is to go down that road and fool people based on religion and spirituality. And his church was based on sex. He had 2 guys there just to have sex with all the women. That was their job. That was their punishment, and that there was a pleasure. Same thing with Koresh. It was all about sex. If you could get a woman to change her religion or her belief, you could get her to take out her clothes and open her legs. If you believe I'm the Messiah, or I'm this great person, you could open your legs for me with ease. I'm having sex with a true believer. As a matter of fact, you're glad to have sex with me because of who I am. How many persons want to have sex with celebrities?
A lot.
Why? To simply say I had sex with him or I had sex with her. Because they are a celebrity. So the person who is running the institution, whatever the institution may be, based on a religious belief, they would have that power over individuals. So when you have somebody asking a question like that and talking about a spiritual transference of energy and whatnot. Now, if you study tantric sex, that's a different thing. But energy does not remain with you. The energy from you will energize my energy, and I will energize your energy, and that's a difference. I'm not taking your energy and giving you my energy. So that is where people get tied up. If they study Tantra, they'll understand it much better. You have any more questions?
Yes, I do. What's at least 3 skills you believe a good sex therapist should have?
Listening, comprehending, understanding, and being able to give good advice, correct advice. The hardest thing.
Open-mindedness as well.
Huh?
Open-mindedness.
Well, you must be totally open-minded. You mustn't be judgmental. But it's very difficult for individuals not to be judgmental. Very, very difficult for persons to not to be judgmental, because they tend to judge persons based on their belief system, judge persons based on religion, judge person based on social, economic standing. A person will say that she poor, she could have sex with anybody. But that is not necessarily true. There are circumstances, if you understand individuals, you'll understand, well, why a person will do something. There are person who takes advantage of another person because of that. We have that happening in Trinidad and Tobago, where persons come from another country and they are led into a life of prostitution. And that is taking advantage of them. But there are some of them who come to do that because they know that's the only asset that they have. And others will judge the person and say, well, they're taking advantage of her. She wants to do that.
It's her choice.
It's difficult. So how do you approach that? Not every time you see a person from that particular country will say, well, he or she's a prostitute. But the majority of them engage in that type of activity to earn an easy dollar. And the majority of them will hook up with a man with okay, you wouldn't see one of them going with a guy who's a garbage collector. They want a guy with a fancy car, have a business. So isn't that a way of prostituting yourself? Isn't that prostitution?
Yeah.
That's why I tell you, a woman don't have to be in love with you to have sex with you.
Because I was having a conversation with a guy who say, like, oh, okay, let's say men, we could have sex with a woman and we don't have no feelings, right? So the same thing you say, you don't believe a woman could be of that. So it had some kind of feeling for the woman to have sex with you.
She don't have feelings for you. She could have feelings for your money, your car, your house, your status. She really don't have to have feelings for you. And you could see it if you go through the different restaurants and malls in Trinidad. You see it all the time. You will see a young girl. You think a young girl of 18 to 25 generally wants to be with a man who doesn't take care of himself, who looking like 80 and he's only 50. You think so? She looking at his bank account. I see it many times in the malls. You see it in the malls. And he has to go and buy this nice outfit for her and this nice shoes and this and that and the other. And he just watching and he's smiling and saying, look how he trapped. And when his money runs out,
She gone.
she gone.
She run out too.
Yeah, she gone too. So that's economic emotions. That's not emotion for the guy. She's going to put up with whatever she has to put up with to get whatever she has to get. For her betterment, to send money for her children. Half of the time they're 18 years old, but they had children since they're 14, you know. That's another thing. Because where they come from, the culture is different. Where they come from, having sex with a 14-year-old is no big deal. In our culture, you could get locked up for that. In their culture, you don't. So you have to look at all these things. And if you ask the majority of them, they'll tell you they have a little sister or a little brother. That is their child. So we have to understand that. And many a men in Trinidad and Tobago are being fooled by that. I have had clients come and tell me, boy, if you see the best thing I have. She's skin milky, silky and milky, man. If you hear the descriptions the fellas and them just use. And all in my mind, I'm saying, well, if that's what you choose, that's what you choose. You should know better. You have to have enough understanding of human behavior to know whether it's real or not. I don't know if she's fooling you. I can't know that. But the majority of the time it turns out to be that. Because after a while, he will come back and tell you a different story. I had one guy tell me about this girl who he employed home to help the wife in the house and whatnot. He ended up having an affair with she. And in the affair and whatnot that she working for him, she asked for her brother to get a job. The brother was her husband. But of course, they have the same name. Because on her passport will have her married name. So when the husband comes to work, you don't know if that's her brother or husband. It is her husband. And when the guy found that out, he was devastated, but he already gave her $100,000 plus dollars. I said, well, at least you learn a lesson. The money wasn't in vain. You spend the money to learn an expensive lesson.
Very expensive lesson.
Yeah. But it's all part and parcel of the modus operandi of women and behavior. A Trinidadian woman will do the very same thing if the economics demand that she going down that road. There are men who will allow their wife to have an affair with a guy who could take care of the house, you know. That happens, you know. Don't think that those things don't happen, you know. There are persons who allow those things to happen. There are many things that goes on in society that we may think it's not real or it's not really happening, but it does happen. Next question, please.
The next question is for both of y'all.
Both of us.
What are your biggest turn-ons or turn-offs about women? Doesn't have to be only sexual, just biggest turn-ons or turn-offs.
Pretentious women, I don't like them. I dislike persons who are pretentious. I don't like a person who puts out a false
Narrative
about
about
themselves. You know, you're trying to talk with an accent and you never even step on a plane. That tells me a lot about the individual. But that is the main thing. Once you are pretentious, I stay far away from you.
Yeah, I'd agree the same thing. Yeah, I prefer, you know, when you come, be you. Show me you. If you know your mouth hot, let me know your mouth hot from up front. Don't let me wine and dine and then, where this person come out from? You know?
Okay. The next question is, what do you all like to do when sex is over? Do you guys, well, I can't say women because I'm the only woman here. Do you all do aftercare or busset or sleeve?
It depends. Sleep after, but I mean after a couple hours, yeah, I might throw on a little movie or something to fall asleep too. Depends. I never run out on nobody after, you know. Everybody by me, so I can't run away. So it's, you know, you clean up after and let's sleep there and hug up each other. I don't know. That is it.
I believe in afterplay as much as foreplay. I believe in cuddling, kissing, caressing, letting the person know how you feel about them, thanking them for a good session, you know, things like that.
What about you? What you like after the
What
session?
you like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you like
Tell
after
us.
the session?
I like aftercare, but I also love sleeping.
Aftercare is sleeping, hugging up and sleeping.
Yeah.
Well, your aftercare is easy.
And who knows, I might wake up in the morning and have a little pre-breakfast. Wake you up.
The next question is it true that most ED cases are psychological rather than physical?
No, that's not true.
That's not true.
No.
It's more
People that say it's
physical.
all in your mind. It's not all in your mind. If you have a hormone imbalance, if you have drop in your testosterone level. That is not psychological. That is physical. That is medical. So most ED cases is something that is happening with you. You have high cholesterol. You think it's in your mind? High cholesterol is high cholesterol. You're not going to get an erection.
But do you think men more should really be doing at least a checkup on them at least twice a year, full checkup?
There's no most men would not do it. A man should know his status, not only his STD, STI status, but also his hormone level status. He should know if he has a proper balance of his hormones, which is testosterone. He should know his prostate health, and he should know his overall health in terms of his heart, his kidney, his liver function, kidney function, cholesterol level.
How about somebody who has sickle cell or sickle cell traits?
It's going to impact on you sexually, of course.
Especially the older
Sickle cell anemia is something that affects you sexually. Sometimes you get a painful erection that don't go down.
Next question. What's the key to keeping the spark alive in your relationship or marriage, other than sex? What's the real key?
To keep in what?
The
The
relationship.
spark in the relationship or marriage.
Loving the person more today than you did yesterday. Finding reason to love the person more today than you did yesterday. Looking at all the positive and having that overcome all the little negative things that will come up. But forgiving, forgetting, pushing aside things. I think I am a testimony to that. I think I fall in love with my wife every single day. And it's because of the way I see her. I mean, she makes mistakes, she do things to irritate me, I do things to irritate her. But at the end of the day, I enjoy going home to her. I enjoy spending time with her. I enjoy looking at a movie with her, watching television, eating, whatever. And it's, as you said, not only sexual, but when you wake up in the morning, you enjoy seeing the person.
Yeah.
It's a conditioning of your mind that you must have it within you to constantly see the positive impact that the person has on your heart, your mind, your body, and your soul. Like, sometimes you were with someone and they do silly things, and that silliness might irritate you, but you have to learn to laugh about it and take it in stride and say, well, it's part and parcel of the person's personality. But a long-term relationship is a work in progress every single day, and it's not a difficult chore to wake up and love the person that you loved yesterday more today. It's not difficult, because you have to find, it's like, okay, when you wake up in the morning, what do? You normally would say a prayer. Thank the Lord for giving you life today. Isn't that being thankful for life? That's what it is. So you wake up with your partner, the person who made you happy yesterday, and that is the person who's going to make you happy today. So you use that energy, that same energy, to say, well, hey, thank you, Lord, for this person being my partner.
I also like the idea of I've seen it a lot lately where couples are being more playful with each other. So yeah, they see them like they have like these new BB guns kind of toys and things where they're hiding from each other and shooting up each other, or they're busting confettis at each other, playing
like
pranks on each other, and that kind of, keeping it
Well, right, because
alive.
one of the things that keeps a relationship developing is being able to laugh at yourself with that person and laugh with the person, not at the person. Feeling the joy that the person brings to you and being able to take that joy and let that joy be a strength to you. But that's a serious question you ask there.
And then it comes to knowing your partner, knowing each other on another level. I mean, understanding the intimacies, right? Because a lot of people just think it's just sex, that is it. I come and make the money, I get money, do this, do that, and that's that. And nah, you have to do other things. You have to.
There's so many
things.
You see, again, it comes back to what I always say. The sex is the cement that binds the relationship together. It's part and parcel of the importance of the relationship, but it's not the most important thing. And if our relationship is based on sex, once the sex is gone, the relationship done. There's nothing to hold on to. Excuse me. There's nothing to hold on to, so.
Ready for the next question?
Right.
What issue relating to sex therapy are you most passionate about?
Eating.
What issue related to sex therapy I'm most passionate about? When two persons who are incompatible sexually and you find a common ground for them to start enjoying their life together sexually. That brings out a passion in me because it means I've broken through a barrier for the individuals and you see the happiness later down in life. You keep them together. ED and those things are common. 70% of all men have ED of some sort of the other. Premature ejaculation included in that 70%. But when you have couples who don't understand each other sexually, who are incompatible sexually, and you make them compatible, that's a challenge. That's a challenge that you have overcome.
The next question is, a woman wants to know what's the best way to balance your pH naturally, without pills, without chemicals. What's the best way?
Green leafy vegetables, cucumbers,
Eating habits.
celery, your diet. Your diet is what balances your pH. You learn that in food and nutrition in primary school. People tend to eat a lot of acidic foods. They tend to eat a lot of meat and they don't balance it with vegetables. They don't balance it with other things.
Fruits as well.
Yes.
It's a lot of people get food with green sides and they'll just scoop out that and put that on the side.
Yeah, because
The
that is focus on the meat and the rice.
And the potatoes and all that.
Yeah,
Or the
potato and
heavy
potato. I know some people who eat potato and potato.
It was cooked differently.
stuff. You didn't look at nobody. I know you're telling me. So why people talking about themselves,
Did that fall in your grabs?
Yes. One was mashed and one was baked.
I'm going to tell you, plant a tomato tree or a potato tree.
It's as simple as, okay, if you're drinking alcohol all the time, alcohol is a form of poison. There's something called alcohol poisoning. So you're drinking alcohol all the time. You don't flush your system. You don't drink enough water. What is going to happen to your body internally? It becomes acidic. It's a poison that you put in. What's the chemical? Have you ever looked at the chemical formulation of alcohol and the chemical formulation of poison? It's almost the same, Almost the same.
Know that.
Well, right. They're basic chemistry. Right? There's just one element in a different place. Right? So, when you're talking about the things that you put into your system, oranges are good for you. But you think you could suck orange every single day?
No.
Right. Water is good for you. You think you could overdo it with water? No, you have to balance. You have to find that commonality and balancing of things for it to work properly within you.
And the last question is, a guy wants to know how to break the ice with a woman or girl they like. How to approach them or start that conversation.
Well, this is where the millennials and the Gen X and they're lacking in that. They don't know how to communicate. They don't. And I make no bones about that. I see it all the time. If you go to the mall today and you watch all the young people, most of them on their phone, they don't know what's going on around them. They don't. They might see a nice girl. I know long time when you see a girl that you like is butterflies in your stomach and you get all nervous and you get stupid and that will happen to people again.
I mean, too, if you're nervous, I mean, like when I was younger, one of the things is, your friends are like, hey, that girl there across there, I trust you, can't talk to you for man, boy. And your friend, being a true friend, will say, yeah, no brethren across there.
Like
so if you're nervous, I say, you're wingman.
Because you're wingman, because he's not nervous like you, because he have no interest in her.
Yeah.
But if he is nervous also, don't send him. Don't send him.
He might say something to ruin your
Yeah,
chance.
exactly. Say, see that stupid fellow over there, he like you, but I like you more.
Yeah. But that's how if you're nervous. Well, I mean, if you're working, if you're going to school or if you're working, you're supposed to at least one little friend.
Well, many a relationship, the wingman end up with the woman.
True. It's happens again. It's how you
Because she like his confidence.
No, in the Kama Sutra, it teaches you. Be wary of the messenger that carries the message to the lover. Because he's the one expressing it to her, not you.
Exactly. Unless the woman now have an eye for you too, and you want to talk to each other, but you're nervous to approach each other. So that now, you got to keep it. So
But the downfall of young people today is they don't have communication skills. They do not know how to talk. They know how to text it.
It's easier to text somebody something than talk face to face.
Yeah, but
because you're nervous.
the text does not convey the message.
Because you can read that text anyhow. So you can send me GM. I don't like people sending me GM. But GM means
I
good
hate
morning.
that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Especially when I send you good morning.
You cannot take the time to tell me good morning. You have to put GM.
GN.
It's like,
No.
the day now start. I want to smile.
Yeah.
You know? I text you. I write out the whole. I use all the alphabet to tell you something.
Correct. And I feel the same way
Hit me
too.
back with GM. It's like, this is GM Motors or something you're trying to get onto? No. I want good morning. Make me feel.
And I dislike that you use all these abbreviation, because abbreviation is not long ago. Long ago, abbreviation meant something. INC means incorporated. LTD means limited. Today does not have the same meaning. So in my brain, when you send me an abbreviation, it automatically goes to what I was taught. CIA means CIA. FBI means FBI. Today it means something different.
Because I just be asking, hey, what do I mean? Because in my head, I read it as something else. I said, what exactly do you mean? I don't want to say the wrong thing. It's like, the lingo, as they call it. Some of the lingo, I was like, maybe a tool.
But if you approach a person with honesty, sincerity, that person will pick up on it. Compliment the person.
Do you think that you should always be yourself?
Be yourself. Be yourself, of course. Be yourself. Don't try to show off. And you see, once you lie and show off, you have to maintain that. If you are being yourself,
You don't have nothing to maintain.
correct. You maintain yourself. You don't have to go and borrow pants because you had on your neighbor fancy pants, right? To impress the person after that. So your impression on the person should be your natural self, complimentary of the individual, and ask a simple question. I find it interesting. I love the dress that you're wearing. Is it okay if I speak with you?
You know what we should do?
What?
Do a self-esteem class for men.
We should do that.
Yeah, self-esteem is where it's at. I remember for me, like, just a couple years ago, I would not approach a woman just so. I had to know you. We had to be in a friend circle for me to talk to you and let you know I'm interested. Or the wingman. But no.
A lot
I was
of
like,
men
hey.
find it hard to walk up to a woman and approach her, but let's just
No, but
say,
it's very difficult now because a lot of women put on this block.
but let me just say, a woman approaches them the same moment that they're looking at, they're surprised, they're shocked, because that's not the
Because it's not the
normal.
norm.
Yeah.
It's not the norm.
Yeah. And then for men too, it's really the rejection. You really don't know.
No
if
man
you're
wants
afraid.
to be rejected. But in your mind, you have to tell yourself that if I approach 10 women, 9 of them will reject me,
Yeah.
and the 10th one would not.
Because I was like,
So it could be the first person you you approach, all well with you. So why are you approaching the next 9 to be rejected?
I mean, sometimes the female puts up a block because, some men, they don't know how to react to rejection. Like, as soon as, you tell them that you're not interested, they get vexed,
she's
they want to
acting.
throw a
She
tantrum.
No,
So
well, if you
some
tell me you're
females
not
put up that
interested and you
block.
could tell me why,
Mhm.
I'm not interested because I have a boyfriend already. Say, there's
That don't work on some men. Some men just be like, I don't care about your man.
but your answer is I do, right? And if you don't care about it, well, when you with me, I could next man could approach me too. You see, there's always an answer that could get a person into thinking. If I approach you and you tell me that you have a boyfriend, and I tell you I don't care about your boyfriend, your next line should be, well, all well and good, let's be together, and the next man approach me, I'll put you aside. How is he going to feel? Right. So you have to have the answer. Because there are many times I approach persons to talk to them, not because I have a sexual interest in them. They may be thinking that. But I just want to know who you are.
Yeah.
Get to know you.
Sometimes it's just.
And if I remember speaking to a young lady at an event, and we hit it off, and I sent her a text message the next day, and she didn't reply. And later in the afternoon, she said, "My husband saw it, and he's not too pleased." I said, "Okay, I wouldn't. I don't want to have any problem with your husband."
Yeah. Shut it down.
We were just I just wanted to know who she was, and we became friendly at the event. Right, the next morning, well, she gave me her number. Once you give me her number, it's okay for me to text you.
Yeah.
Right? But the husband saw it and she said, well, my husband saw your message and he wasn't too pleased. I said, well, I wouldn't want you to get any problem with your husband. I wish you all the best. I wasn't angry or anything like that because I took it upon myself to apologize. Right? And it was a simple good morning. How are you doing?
Yeah.
But some persons are intimidated by that because of who it comes from. So,
Yeah, because if I have friends and I have had friends who, before relationship, be good. As soon as you get in a relationship, you think. I mean, I respect the, you're limiting the conversations between us. But time I call you, and the man answers, and say, who's this? Who's you? So come, that is a day for me and you and the friendship. So, yeah. I don't care what you come and tell me after that.
I have found that many times. I remember once I met this young lady at a restaurant, and her grandmother was a Trinidadian, and the name that she called was somebody that I knew, and she asked me to get in touch with the person, right? So I came back home to Trinidad and I got in touch with the person, and I can't remember what happened. And the next time I went, I called her to tell her, well, I got in touch with the person, and some man answered, he vexed. I said, I'm calling to simply give a message. I have no interest in you. I have no interest in your person. It's a transference of information. But she was all excited that she met somebody from Trinidad, and this is her family lineage in Trinidad and whatnot. The person was from right on or whatever. But people take things the wrong way because of their own insecurities.
Exactly. That's it. Because for me, if me and my girl go out, right, and I step away and like, so let's say I have a photographer, if me and she go a party, and I leave, I go and do my own job and thing, and I see a man come to she and talk, I not vexed. I watching all there because I've seen it happen where they're talking and the fella buy a drink.
Yeah.
And as he put on the drink, I just pop in and slide it and we drink the drink. I not vex. You understand? It's cool because I know I have an attractive woman and I'm going to watch her
you would know what you have. And sometimes if you behave in a jealous way, some women like to see their man be jealous, and some women they'll say, well, what's wrong with you, boy? I carry myself when I go out.
Do you think if you want to dance on somebody, go ahead, dance. At the end of the day, I know you're coming back with me. And the energy that we have from the experience will be wonderful.
The thing with some men, they would normally meet a female a certain way, and as soon as they get in the relationship, they want to dictate how things should go.
But most men will do that because they want control, and women do the very same thing also. It's not only men. Women also like to know my boyfriend and I have control over him. I must know where he's at all the time. Right? I see people now, they have to tell it when they reach to work, when they're taking a break, when they're having lunch, when they're going in a car.
Sometimes
it's like the song Take the Number.
Some females just want their boyfriend to turn on their location so that they could share the location and they could see which part of boyfriend is at all times.
Yeah.
Or their girlfriend.
Especially if you have an
Where is that?
Huh?
Yeah, especially if you have an iPhone.
Yeah.
They could just pull you up.
Yeah,
Hey,
share location.
I thought they tell me in work. Why your phone saying you by the go
see
street?
where the person is.
Yeah,
or where
it
they
will
go.
tell
Well, I don't. My phone don't have that.
You may be off.
No, my phone don't have that. When I say my phone don't have that, if you my phone don't have that, I could have the latest iPhone that don't have that. Because if you're asking me to that, you invading my privacy. You are invading my privacy. I don't need to know where you are 24/7. You don't need to know where I am 24/7. I have a life without you.
Exactly.
Even if you're married, you have a life without the person. And I'm serious about that.
Nothing wrong with doing it in our message. Hey, wait.
Well, I don't even do that. Because that's not how we operate.
Right.
That's not how me and my wife operate. We don't. I don't need to know where you are. I don't.
And that's
Same thing with my children. I don't need to know where you are. You're supposed to know what is safe and what is not safe. I can monitor you 24/7. I cannot do that, and I would not do that. So the minute somebody asks me to do that, I was like, go to hell.
Yeah.
My phone don't have that. You see, that is a feature in a phone?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Once your iPhone, someone could pull you up, find my friend.
And you can see
And you
where,
can see
where
exactly
it's going.
where
Like
you are in
I
real
just
time.
say you're going down a road, you can see the movement. You can see where you're turning to.
Yeah.
Well, look, I learned something. Well, that will be a GPS function.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a tracker.
It was really meant to find your phone.
Yeah, it's
If you lost your phone, you know, you could, hey, pull up my phone and find my phone. That's how it started. And now it's
relationship. Yeah.
So you're basically walking around with your tracking device.
Well, I could understand for safety.
That's like for someone who has intense trust issues.
Like,
I don't need that. I don't have GPS on my vehicle, nothing like that. I don't believe in that.
I come when I see, I mean, if I tell you I come home at a certain time, and then you see a couple hours going by, and I expect panic mode. Like, what
No, not panic mode, but I just got call. Normally I'll come home to eat dinner. Should I leave dinner out for you or not? That's the call I will get. So, relationship is what you make it. How you and your partner understand each other. I never say that people should emulate me and copy what I do, because given the circumstances, not everybody could do it. You have to know what works for you and how you're going to make that be part and parcel of your life. But anytime you invade in my privacy, I don't need to know when you go in the toilet. I don't need to know if you stop to buy a loaf of bread. I don't need to know that. So let me ask you something, and this is serious. So that tracking thing, if you have it on, and something should happen to the person, could you backtrack?
Yeah. Yeah,
All right,
you
so
could.
You can pull it up on your phone, you can pull it up on
You
your
can
computer.
pull it up, like even if the person turn off the phone, you can see where the phone was before it turned off.
well, as a safety feature, that is something good. Other than that,
Like I said, the technology was to find your phone.
Yeah, it's just in
It
case
was-
somebody thief your phone or
That is what it
something
was
like that.
for. But now, it helps with insecurities.
it transformed.
Yes.
There are many things in life that has
Like I
transformed.
say, they make it for one thing, and now it has become something else.
Well, isn't that what happened to all those social media sites?
Yep.
I see yesterday somebody was talking about the new
Threads.
social threads
Mm-hmm.
that's supposed to fight Twitter. Did I get my threads yet?
I will say, read the terms and conditions before you download that.
Why is that? Who does ever read a million and things? You could
Nobody
ever read
does
that?
ever. Everybody just skip that
could
whole
ever read that?
paragraph and just click accept.
There's no human being who could read that and things.
Well, there are people who dedicate their life to that kind of work, but that's the law's work.
But once you are in an Instagram account, automatically you could get threads.
Yes, it is. Well, once you have Instagram, you can get it.
All right.
But as I say, they also said in order to deactivate it, you have to deactivate your Instagram also.
Well, how about if you just don't use it?
Right. Well, that's how you use it.
All right. But once, okay, if I have a company and I give you a credit card and I open a second company, right? And you want to use the credit card there, you'll join. If you stop buying from that company, I could take away the credit card for both companies. That is what a business is about. People who understand business will understand that perfectly well. If I want you to follow my social media, which is Threads, and I am the owner of Instagram, I don't want you on Twitter.
True. I don't want to be my competitors.
Well, right. You feel Nike company like to know that you wear a Reebok? Which Nike employee could go to work at a Reebok? None.
Come to because I Reebok. Adidas one. Go home.
Yes, go
You ain't
home.
feeling well today. Go home.
Yeah. It is protecting your brand.
image, Yeah.
Protecting your brand. So all the thing that people have thought about they being independent and whatnot, try to break them rules now and see what happens to you. It's come back to the same thing with the hairstyle. Come back with the same thing. You feel anybody working rituals go walking there with a Starbucks cup? They will be sent home. They will be sent home because you are flouting the rules. You are doing something you're not supposed to do. And you can say, well, it's my right to drink Starbucks. Well, it is your right to go and work by Starbucks, not by me. That's all the owner will tell you. The manager will tell you that.
Nobody's saying you can have a Starbucks, but don't come into the
No, you can't.
working
You can't do that.
environment.
You can't bring that brand in here and have it advertised in here
Stand up outside and-
because that is advertising. The brand is on the cup. The brand is on everything.
Mhm.
That happens all the time in the corporate world. You can be working Calvin Klein and going to work in a Armani suit. It better be a
Disrespect.
Calvin Klein suit.
Disrespect.
Yes. Brand loyalty.
Yeah? And in that same way, you have to be loyal to your woman and your man.
Well, right. Man loyalty and woman loyalty.
You understand? You know your wife coming home just now. You have Susan with you riding. Of course you're gonna get busted.
Of course.
Of course you're gonna get busted. Handle your business better. Or your wife now leave. Yeah, she no drive out there. You jump out the bush to come inside.
That is real madness.
It does happen.
No, I ain't saying it don't happen. It happens. But again, that is really disrespectful. The things that some people do, I think they don't think about if it's happening to them. To them.
Mm.
That if I was in a similar situation on the others, you know, you say, put your foot in that person's shoe. Try to do that and understand how you would feel.
And those who dish it out can't take it.
Exactly.
Majority of the time you can't do
Really
that.
give it and take it.
Relationship is a complicated thing, very complicated. There are so many factors, but it is what makes it exciting.
Discovery, every day is a new discovery.
Taking all the different factors and making it work for you, making it work in a particular way. Because again, it's two individuals coming together to create an entity called a relationship. So yours and my relationship is different from yours and his relationship. It's different. Even if you're the common factor, you know. Let's say you have two different partners for whatever reason. It's two different entities. It's not the same thing. The relationship you'll have with him is different from the relationship you'll have with me. But the love may be similar based on what you get out of it. That's why when a person asks the question, can you love two persons at the same time? And the answer is yes, you can. And I'm telling you that from experience, that you can love two persons with the same intensity. Not the same way, but the same intensity. The intensity of the love is there.
Yeah. I do believe in that.
Yeah. Some person will tell you no, then it's not true love, but it is. You see, the human mind, capacity of the human mind to do things, we cannot even comprehend it.
Yeah.
We limit ourselves based on our experience and based on what society expects of us.
The blockage.
But that is what we limit our minds to. So your limitations are based on you. But for a person who understands the magnitude of the mind, the brain, the vast expanse of the brain, they will understand that yes, you can love two persons or three persons at the same time.
I think what should be asked, right? Because you're saying, well, I love you and I love somebody else. And you'll come and say, but I don't know how you can love me and love she dies and she can't. I think what you should really ask is, could you support the both of us?
No, well, you're taking on in a different angle. Let's put it this way. You see, the emotion of love and financial support is two different things. If you have two sisters, you have the same feeling for both sisters. One might be a favorite, but it doesn't mean to say the one that is not the favorite is less loved. It's same love. Right? It has nothing to do with finances, it has nothing to do with sex, it has nothing to do with anything other than emotion, that emotional feeling that you have. So let's say you have three sisters now. You can have two favorites. Can you? You can say, she's my favorite. Now I do it. You know what I do? You're my favorite younger sister. You're my favorite older sister. You're my favorite middle sister.
Because I mean, it to have different.
I have two nieces. And they're both my favorite. One is my favorite niece in Trinidad. The other is my favorite niece overseas.
Yeah, because each person have a different.
So, no, but they're both my favorite. But I find a way to let them know that they are my favorite. Right? But I love them both the same way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I'm with the one in Trinidad, you know, you're my favorite niece, and she say, yeah, in Trinidad.
Right now? Yeah.
You know, she knows that.
Yeah.
And the other one, you know, you're my favorite niece, she say, yeah, in Florida. So, you establish that rapport, and you remain with the same intensity. You remain with the same intensity. So if you have three nieces, you have to know how to say it. So each one of them feel the same special way from you. And you maintain that. The same thing with my nephews. Well, I have more nephews than nieces. I have 10 nephews, 3 nieces. So I have to find ways now. You're my favorite older nephew, favorite youngest nephew, right? But you use the word favorite to let them know that they're special to you. So it's the same thing with, you have two partners. No one makes you feel good in a particular way. You're my favorite person to spend time with, whatever limited time I have with you. And then you go home to your spouse, and that's your favorite person.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean to say you're not thinking about the other person. So you have to know, it's a battle inside of you. But your brain must have that capacity to assimilate it. That's why I tell you, relationships are complicated. It's not an easy think that nobody could come out and tell you this is what a relationship should be like, and I draw up chart and that is what it
It's
is.
not a 2 + 2 = 4 kind
No,
of
no, no,
thing.
no, 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 it's never. But if I tell you, I want to marry you, but I already have a wife, that is where the financial support comes in. Can I support you equally as the other person? And after I marry you, I see that, I love that. I want to marry you too. Because in some institutions or some religion, you can have more than one wife.
Yeah.
But there are rules governing that. And it's not no jokey rule. It's not a rule that, it's about sex. It's not that. There's economic circumstances. There's it has to do with favoritism and time spent with the individual. You must be able to do that. And let's face it, there's something called jealousy. And jealousy among women is not an easy thing. True? I hear you saying
You're afraid to answer, you're only smiling in the corner there.
jealousy among women is not an easy thing. They may be all well and good with you, and behind they want to stab the other person in the back. That is part and parcel of what it is like. So we have reached the end of our program. Master Control, you there? David? David taking it out to the wire. I just wanted to wrap up a little 5 minutes earlier because there are two things I have to do. There's a document that I have to look at. Want to go get the document and any other thing?
That's what the car brought back.
Yes. So David, are you there? Right. So I'm signing off now. It's 5 minutes to. So I'm handing over to you. Thank you, my friend. Until next week. You too. All the best.
This is from the back.
Right.
This is your change. And this is
That's everything?
The juice is the only thing I got toasted.
Let me see what you get.
Hold on. One
Yeah.
hand first.